thanks everyone for joining today's webinar on how to bridge your online and on-the-ground efforts with Ecanvasser and NationBuilder. So we're really excited today to take you through today's demo with Ecanvasser. So we're going to start off with some introductions, and then we're going to give an overview of the two platforms before going into that live demonstration of all of the tools in action. So, highlighting features of our joint and integration. If anyone has any questions throughout today's demo, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and Brendan and I can come round and answer those as we go through. But to start off with an introduction, my name is Sarah, so I'm an organizer on the team at NationBuilder. I'm based in London, so I get to work with an amazing range of customers looking to mobilise their communities on political campaigns, with advocacy organisations, charities and more across Europe. And handing over to you, Brendan.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, Brendan's my name. I'm the founder of Ecanvasser. I came from an organizing background, so it's a case of I launched Ecanvasser to scratch that itch, to be honest, and solve that real need. I found the way canvassing was done and organizing was done was very much pen and paper based, and I knew there could be a better way. A lot of the solutions on the market at that time were more focused on larger campaigns with far greater resources. I thought if we developed a mobile canvassing app that could solve the problem for a lot more campaigns, it would encourage a greater uptick of organizing methods, in particular field organizing.
Amazing. Thank you, Brendan. So we're now going to go and dive into NationBuilder in a bit more detail. So NationBuilder is a platform, an integrated software solution. So we were founded by organisers for organisers, and it's really the main infrastructure you need on the digital side of a campaign to engage and manage relationships with your supporters and voters. So NationBuilder is really a software platform built to power and build movements. So we really just believe in making those tools of leadership available at an affordable price to people all over the world. So in the context of today, that is what we're going to be it's all going to be centered around a political campaign. So leading your constituents or the wider electorate towards some sort of action, a pledge, a donation, or just building that initial relationship. So we have 5 key digital tools in our platform at NationBuilder. The 2 that we're going to go into a bit more detail on today is the people database and the communication suite. So crucially to today's demo is our dynamic CRM, or what we otherwise call our people section. So this is just where you hold all of your data. There are features like filters, lists and tags, paths, all for you to manage your database, put people on supporter journeys, and to really just establish commonalities amongst your database through things like their geography, voting districts, interests and demographics, and so on. The next key tool that we'll run through today is the communication suite. So our customers can really engage the people in their database directly through email and text blasts, as well as workflows, which is otherwise known as an email automation. So the other tools that we have include our content management system or website builder, so you can host your campaign site. It also includes our finance section for managing donations and selling tickets, or membership fees, as well as some direct advocacy tools through Action Button. Now, behind all of these tools, we have 4 key principles that really inform how the product was designed, 2 of which I'm going to run through in a bit more detail based on their relevance to our product demo today. So first, you own your own data. This is really important. You have complete data autonomy. Each customer has their own separate secure database, and we provide all the tools to help you build supporter relationships, be compliant, meet GDPR requirements, and to just be confident in your data security. So this includes features like people and group assignment, as well as the ability to provide individual data downloads and digital wills. Our second principle is about putting people at the center of the work you do. They are, of course, at the heart of all of your goals. And then being able to focus on moving people to action. The last principle here is distributing leadership. So this is really important to today's discussion because you can add an unlimited amount of control panel users to your NationBuilder account at no extra cost. So this means you can really distribute tasks and responsibilities to your campaign team, even your volunteers that are working on your door knocking and canvassing efforts. So there are a range of permission sets so that you can provide relevant access to different parts of the platform to those volunteers. And that is NationBuilder in a nutshell. So I'm going to pass over to Brendan so we can hear a bit more about Ecanvasser.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so Ecanvasser is a door-to-door canvassing software. It lets you manage the entire field campaign, and you're able to track all that information in real time. And what that means is Ecanvasser is very much a best breed software product. So we've doubled down in terms of that niche of pure canvassing, and that's why running a webinar like this and why we're integrated with softwares like NationBuilder is really key, because field and the offline can really feed into the online. So it's a case of you're not running two separate campaigns whatsoever. It's just the one campaign, and you just have two different views on it. In terms of the product itself, it's split into three areas. You have your plan, you have your organize, and you have your engage. So plan, you map out your data, you have your turf tools, and then you build your mobile canvassing app. It's a very simple drag and drop, no code solution that you can really customize the mobile app to what your canvassers need to have those high impact conversations that you need to win your election campaign. And then on the organize section, you have your team management, you have team leaderboards, you have area assignment, you have all the analytics and reporting behind those assignments as well. And then you have your engage. So this is where I suppose we're seeing the fruits of that in terms of with the integrations, linking it with NationBuilder. So because obviously it's one thing to have your data in one area, but it's a case of you need to have it connected with all the platforms that you're using over the course of your campaign. And so it's not just sitting doing nothing. It's a case of it's moving on so that you in the end result is you have a winning campaign.
Thank you, Brendan. So next, we kind of wanted to add in just an example of what that looks like with a shared customer and how they have used both of these tools, NationBuilder and Ecanvasser, to bridge their online and on-the-ground campaign efforts. So our joint partnership with the Women's Equality Party started back in 2015. Their campaign goals were really aligned with what they actually needed from both of the software platforms, because they were looking to run a Get Out the Vote outreach campaign in really local areas. So they gave their local chapters the authority to manage their own teams and accounts, while also maintaining a consistent outreach across all of those chapters. So they were really using a distributed leadership model to organize that Get Out the Vote outreach in those local areas, engaging audiences with relevant, meaningful messages. So we will show you that in today's demo. Now, they are still using both of the platforms today, but the kind of great benefit from their use of the platform was really in maximizing resource efficiency close to election day. So by focusing campaign efforts on those people that they knew were likely to vote for the party. So this resulted in them kind of gaining 250,000 votes for Sophie in that election. Now, following this case study, we also wanted to summarize what the key problems are that NationBuilder and Ecanvasser can solve for. So at the top here, the first one that I'm going to run through is this lack of ability to engage. So whether that is engaging, with your community, your members, voters, supporters, or the wider electorate, we found that people often struggle to be able to kind of lead them to impactful action. So that's where NationBuilder and Ecanvasser comes in. Combined, you are able to engage people with the right content and message based on the data that you have. It will prevent teams from kind of disregarding a meaningful interaction between an organizer and a potential voter on the field, leading to campaign messages that might not build on the rapport that you've already created. So the two platforms really give you that higher chance of kind of leaving a favorable impression on your voters or the community that you are targeting with your digital and field campaign. Handing over to you, Brendan.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And it's great that you highlighted that case study with the women's equality, because obviously it feeds into the mayoral demo flow that will be going in later on. But it also points to the isolated data, which is a key problem that our integration solves as well. That there's not just campaigns can sometimes like mini kingdoms can emerge when you're running a campaign, that it's a case of, I'm over here, I'm running the field campaign. Sarah's over there and she's running the digital database. Then someone else is over there running the social side. And then you have a webmaster kind of driving in. And what can happen then is we're all learning things from, having those conversations, whether, it's on the doorstep, whether it's interacting, say, with, the social media comments that are coming through, or whether it's, say, email, or whether it's something, people are commenting on, say, a blog post, or, sending out the various emails. And we're all learning these little pieces of information. And it's a case of, because we're all, operating from our separate silos, there's no actual cross sharing. And what happens is better messaging, or the messaging that would actually resonate with your supporters, isn't shared because we're not sharing it internally. And by combining Ecanvasser and NationBuilder, and because of the strength and power of NationBuilder and the strength and power of Ecanvasser is combined, those data silos are completely removed. And it's suddenly, you're working off of the one profile, and you'll see that later on. And Sarah will be able to bring you through kind of all that, what happens from the field, feeds right through sending to an email blast, and it's all completely automated. And then, so that's on the isolated data side. And then it's, to be blunt, a lot of campaigners and canvassers are of an older demographic. And it's a case of, and we could probably do a series of webinars to go through why that is. But on this case, we're running a nuts and bolts webinar of how Ecanvasser and NationBuilder are connected. But in terms of, with both platforms, we have, there's unlimited user licenses. So it's a case of you can have as many volunteers, as many users that you can get on the platform. And the benefit of Ecanvasser is it's mobile optimized. It's a native app. It works offline. So if the connection drops, you're still using, you can still interact with the data. It uses the app development principles, so that if you're used to Android, it'll look like your typical Android app. If you're used to iOS, it'll look like your typical iPhone app. And so that means that there's no kind of shock factor. You're not handing people, sign into this page and kind of work through a specific flow. It shows, look, here's an app, an interface that works really similar to all your other interfaces. But what this means is all the data and all the conversations that are being collected flows through. And the primary benefit of that is then your team is less focused on what platform they're using, and they're more focused on how best they can volunteer and how they can have a better conversation and a more impactful conversation to push the needle along for your respective campaign.
Perfect. So that leads us on to our demo flow for today. So for today's flow, we're going to show you how NationBuilder and Ecanvasser can come in to solve for all of these problems. Brendan and I will be acting as organisers on the canvassing team for an independent mayoral candidate. We're going to call her Megan for mayor. She's running in this year's election. So we're looking to run kind of a voter persuasion campaign targeting an area of really undecided voters in NationBuilder's database. And we're going to identify that using filters. We are canvassing these kind of undecided voters to gauge their feelings on transport issues, which is really a key pillar of Megan's mayoral campaign. So her manifesto is including a promise to just instate a night tube across the entire network to improve safety at night in the city. So if you live in London like me, that sounds like a really great idea. I'm not sure if you agree. So now to collect all of this information, I will show you what a survey looks like in NationBuilder for us to ask questions and collect data in relation to this transport theme. I'll then demonstrate how this data of undecided voters is laid out in our map view, where we can use the turf cutting tool to define customized boundaries based on our data set. I will then send that assignment over to Brendan on the Ecanvasser dashboard. Handing over to you, Brendan.
Yeah, so then what we'll do is we'll go through what that list looks like from NationBuilder, how easy it is to assign it to a team or to users in Ecanvasser. Then I'll bring you through the flow of how to build your own canvassing app. Then we'll work through so the scripts, how the survey pulls across from NationBuilder to Ecanvasser and how it looks from the Ecanvasser perspective. And then what I'm going to do is show you how to actually bring that action so to get more engagement from your volunteers. So I'm going to show how to connect your list from NationBuilder and tie it to an in-person action or event in Ecanvasser. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it over to the mobile app, and we're going to do some canvassing. And then it's a case of it'll flow back into Ecanvasser, show you what that looks like, and then hand it back over to Sarah.
Yeah, perfect. So once Brendan has shown you that data sync, I'll then show you just how we can kind of continue to engage those we met on our field campaign to drive further action using workflows. So that is our email automation tool. So I'm now going to jump over to NationBuilder's control panel. So let me know if anyone has any issues viewing that shift in screens. So we have now opened NationBuilder's. Perfect. So we're now in NationBuilder's control panel, and I'm currently in the people section. So on the left-hand side, you can see that's where we house all the other digital tools that we kind of just walked through in the presentation. So the people section is where we hold all of your data. As supporters interact with you online, fill in forms, take action on your site, they will dynamically land here. And they can also be imported using this button at the top. So you can bring people over manually from things like a CSV file. So what we're going to focus on today is the use of filters to identify those in our database that are currently undecided in their support of a candidate. So clicking on this filter button, we can add a wide range of criteria, like whether or not they have a specific tag on their profile, if they're emailable, based on their geography, their engagement patterns, demographics, voting districts, and many more different options. So you can get really granular here. So I'm just going to highlight that at the moment we have over 1,000 people in our database at the top right here. So what I'm going to do is open up a filter that I've already created. So I'm just going to switch tabs. And you can see here at the top, we've got that filter that I have built out with about 4 different criterias listed. So this filter is essentially a dynamic grouping of people that matches all of these criteria that I have selected. And it's going to dynamically update and include more people as they meet this criteria that I have selected. So at the top, the first thing that I've identified are 2 wards. So I've identified 2 voting districts, Brixton Rush Common and St Martin's. So these are 2 wards in London where we don't currently have a high level of support or voter pledges secured for Meghan's campaign. So these voting districts are applied using our auto districting feature. Supporter records that include a physical address will basically be automatically geocoded, plotted on a map to apply their voting districts. So these are great for their use in your field campaign if you're looking to target a particular constituency or ward that you've identified for your campaign, or maybe you've identified, as in this example, those that are kind of currently undecided. So next, I'm then going on to refine this audience for anyone whose support level has been identified as undecided. Then layering on to that, I'm removing anyone in my database that has the tag on their profile that they've already pledged to support Meghan online. And lastly, we have removed those that have recently been contacted by the organisers we have working on Meghan's campaign in Brixton, that being Brendan and I. So we're just wanting to target undecided voters who haven't yet interacted with Meghan's campaign team. So we now have an audience of about 100 people. So you can see how that filter has segmented our database. So what we can now do is essentially save the results of a filter to a static list. So it won't continue to dynamically update as the filter will. And this is where we can manage this target audience. So all we'd need to do is click on Actions, Add All to List, and we can essentially save the results of this filter. Now, before I jump into this list view to show you how we can cut turfs and send it over to Brendan, we're going to look into NationBuilder surveys briefly. So I'm just going to switch tabs again. And we are now in our survey for Meghan's canvassing team. So these are a really important part of managing your campaign and just allowing you to get really valuable feedback from your contacts. So once we're in a survey, we can view all of the questions that we have listed out, as you can see here. So these are the questions that Brendan is essentially going to run his canvases through to kind of link up with NationBuilder. So I'm just going to click into this top one. So which transportation issues concern you most in our city? So this is an example of a multiple choice question. So you can also add a simple yes or no option or a text box for open-ended answers. But if we just click into this question, we now come into this dashboard so we can see all the answers and responses we've gathered for reporting and reviewing feedback. So Brendan will show you what the response dashboard looks like in Ecanvasser as well. And there is one more question that we are going to be running through today by using a custom field. So Brendan will also gather data against this question on whether someone has heard of the candidate or not before. So today we are basically using a mix of surveys and custom fields to demonstrate the different data captures that we can use in our integration with Ecanvasser. So we're going to come back to these surveys once Brendan has run his canvases. But navigating back to that filter, I'm just going to save that to a list. So let's just call it Brixton canvassing. We can hit save list, create and save, and then we can open that list up. So I'm just going to open one that I've already created, just so it's already laid out for us. So we're now in our map view, or our list view, sorry. So in a list view, we can do various things. We can batch update to log multiple contacts or update multiple data points that we have. And we also have the option to export all of this data out. But key to today's webinar is the ability to run your field campaign. So I'm currently sat in this map view here. So in the map view, we can see that our audience from that filter has been plotted on a map. All of their household addresses are here. So what I'm going to do is cut a turf so our organisers can go on to work this area. So just clicking in the top right, I'm going to select turf cut, and I'm just going to draw around all of these households, just joining up all those dots. And then I'm just going to right click, and we can now send this over to Ecanvasser. So now that I've cut the turf, I'm just going to give it a name. So again, let's just call it Brixton Canvas. The slug will automatically populate against that. I want to share it with all of the admins in my team. This is where you could set out some different kind of permission sets. So we could also share it with volunteers, the different levels that you have. And I'm also just going to make sure that Brendan receives that, and we can hit save list. So that has now been sent over to Brendan at Ecanvasser on the dashboard. So now that I've cut that turf, captured the area, and it's been sent over, I'm going to hand it over to Brendan. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Sarah. So I'm just gonna share my screen now and bring it through. Ecanvasser. So you should be able to see the Ecanvasser dashboard. So again, you connect the two apps or the two softwares together. Then you so then all the lists from NationBuilder get automatically pulled in to Ecanvasser. You can map your statuses. So these would be statuses from NationBuilder there, and you can sync them up with interaction statuses. So these would be your kind of disposition. So if someone answers the door, not at home, call back. And again, you can have as many as you want, and you can map them. So again, you can decide whether the answered is connected to answered, or whether callback is left message within NationBuilder. From here, you can sync your lists, and then you can add them to a list. So you can just click list, create the list, and then assign that to a team, and then suddenly the list that Sarah has created in NationBuilder is automatically synced to the mobile app in Ecanvasser. Before I show you the canvassing side, I'm just going to bring you through the customize the app side. So again, these interaction statuses here that I was saying, very easy to customize. You can add just a name, give it a description, and give it a color code. So again, these kind of cover off your answered, callbacks, not interested. In general, for every 10 doors that you knock, only 4 will actually answer. And then the whole idea is if you can get 1 out of those 4, you're getting 25% of the vote share straight off the bat. So in terms of the color code that you choose for your interaction status, that determines the color code on the map within Ecanvasser. So just bear that in mind. But all this data syncs back to Ecanvasser. You can also turn on a star rating. So you can, and again, Ecanvasser gives you the preview of what the mobile canvassing app looks like. But you can also disable that feature. And again, this feature, any data point collected in Ecanvasser syncs back to NationBuilder. In terms of customizing it. So we have a few data points already, but to bring over or say, look, we don't want to capture email, we can just drag it back. And again, you can see what it looks like here. You can flick across into the Android app to see what that looks like. But for this case, we actually do want to collect email address. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pop into surveys, and you can see all the surveys that were brought across from NationBuilder are showing up here. And again, they'll be available for our canvassers to choose. You can only choose one survey at a time when you're out canvassing, but you can bring across as many as you want. Then from talking points. So talking points are very much your script. But rather than a full-blown script, we've decided to go with talking points. The reason why, when you give canvassers a script, and I've been on a lot of canvases where they've given scripts, you can get a very robotic experience, and you can be sure of one thing: you're not going to get the vote secured for your campaign. So that's why we developed talking points. It allows you to push a specific note to your canvassers, and they can use their own natural language on top to ensure that there's a far more professional experience on the doorstep. To create a talking point, you just click the talking point, add it to a category, write out what that talking point is, and then you can assign a talking point to a specific team. The great thing about assigning specific talking points to teams is you could have a very different, say, we're running a night tube campaign here, but perhaps the big issue is noise in the north half of the constituency, whereas it's a safety aspect in the south of the constituency. So it's a case of you can really tailor the script and the talking points and the overall experience based on where you're targeting in the constituency. So we have a couple of talking points already created in terms of accessibility, cultural vibrancy, economic growth, and so on. So that's our survey is done, our app is built, and now we're going to just try and get that data out to the team. In terms of teams, you can invite users based on a permission level, and you can invite them based on email or phone number. So it's quite easy. You get a text. If you choose text, they'll get a text with a smart link, which will allow them to download the app all in one click. So really easy to onboard your team. What I've done today is we have an afternoon canvas coming up for Megan for Mayor. This is on our action screen. So we're going to meet by the Brixton Tube. And it's a case of we've associated our lists that we've created in NationBuilder with this actual action. So I haven't clicked attending yet, so I'm going to click attending. And where we're meeting is on the left-hand side. And again, you can see all the details there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to bring you through what it looks like on the mobile app. So this is probably a good time if anyone has any questions so far.
Yeah, perfect. So what Brendan is going to do next is kind of show us how the mobile app presents all of this information for the organisers to run through and collect all of that data. So please do continue to pop any questions that come to mind in the Q&A box. We're both really happy to answer those as we go throughout.
So yeah, you can see here we have our afternoon canvas. So I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to click. So again, all the details that we had here. And I'm going to click check-in, and here it's going to start, and the list that we have associated here is the Megan for Mayor, and we can just run through. So we've already done a bit of canvassing yesterday, but we're using the same list. So we're going to just pop into the first one, and we can see that we're going to speak to Laura Lee. We have her email address already. She has decided she's going to give us her phone number. She's going to volunteer, and she has heard of the candidate. Then we're going to fill out the survey. So again, all the questions that Sarah has pushed at the NationBuilder side have pulled directly through into the mobile app. And we're going to say safety. And then would they support implementing a network-wide night tube service? Yes. So Laura Lee is really passionate about this. She's volunteered, so I'm going to click save. I'm going to attach the newsletter, so consent. And now what's popped up here is the summary of what Laura Lee has agreed to. So we can click continue. And like how you sign for a package, you can collect an e-signature. This feature can be turned off if it's not applicable to your region. And click save and just move on to the next house. So I'm going to go to the next one. We're speaking to Isabella. She isn't interested, and we just move on to the next house. Then we go to the next one. We're talking to Eldridge, and they're going to complete the survey. And it's safety. No. And we're just going to move on to the next one. So that's how you run through. So then we're going to move to the next one. And again, no one was at home, so we moved on to the next house. That's how you view one list. So then again, you can view that list in a map. So I'm based in Cork, and this campaign is based in Brixton. So again, very similar flow happens. Again, this is all tied to the one list. You just tap on the house icon, and then again, you can just say not interested, move on. No answered, and again, we're going to go with Jean. And again, she said that she hasn't heard of the candidate, and we're just going to move on. She hasn't completed a survey either. So again, then the next house we go to, it's Porty. They've asked us a question. I'm not entirely sure of the answers, so I've decided I'm going to tap into my talking points. I've covered I've answered her question, and now I can just move on. And she's completed the survey as well in terms of accessibility, and no. And then we'll just move on then. So I've auto sync turned on, so that's been syncing away in the background. I'm just going to sync again just to make sure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually switch back into my dashboard, and I'll show you what that looks like. So then you can see all the transport survey. So I'll click in the survey questions, and you can see in terms of the 2 questions, we've gotten a couple of answers that have come back. You can see safety appears to be the big one that's come back. And then we have a 50-50 split between those that support the night tube service and those that don't. And then we have an activity stream. So you can see here, the last one that we canvassed was Porty. We're gonna click on this one, Laura Lee's. This is our first one. So again, you can see all the responses that she's done for the transport survey. If you click on this one, you can again see the phone number that we collected. Did she want to volunteer? Ecanvasser shows you the signature as well, any custom field data. And then you can see that this contact is actually linked to NationBuilder. So again, by clicking on this, you can see Laura Lee's connection. So by scrolling down, you can see how Laura Lee answered. So again, all the answers that we collected using the Ecanvasser mobile app, you can see that they've pulled directly through to Ecanvassers, or right through to NationBuilder. So you can see the door knock was the answered. She wants to volunteer, and likewise, she answered those survey questions. So again, you can see the full flow of connecting the list from NationBuilder to Ecanvasser, customizing your app in Ecanvasser, sending that list to the mobile app, collecting the data, and then all syncing back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand back over to Sarah, and she's going to bring you through what you can actually do with all the data that's been collected.
Perfect. Thank you, Brendan. So I'm just going to reshare my screen. Perfect. So Brendan has shown you how all of that information rendered over into NationBuilder. So he showed you how all of that shows up down here in the activity stream. So I've loaded up that same record. So we've got Laura Lee. So what I'm going to show you is what we can do with that data and the features that are really relevant here, such as tags, paths, and automations. So when people answer the survey questions, I have set up some automatic tags that will apply to their profile or their record in the database, so we can begin to establish those commonalities amongst people and distinguish the feedback that they have given from our canvases. So here you can see a few tags show up based on their answers. So we've got that Lauralee supports that night tube campaign. So we know that she supports implementing that network-wide night tube service to promote public safety at nighttime. We can also see that this tag has been applied to her profile, this survey transport cost tag. So from this, we know that one of the key issues for them in relation to transport is the cost of services. I've also automated the addition of 2 paths here so that we can go on to manage our workflow with this audience that answered a particular question. So a path is what you can see here, and this is what we refer to as a ladder of engagement tool. It's really a step-by-step workflow for you to just complete a chain of actions. So it's going to help you to define the reasons for engaging with supporters. So in this example, it's reflecting those transport surveys and that concern around cost. So Lauralee automatically landed on the step concern safety, and that she answered the survey for those relevant different points. So we can see that our next step in relation to those particular answers is to really just help you manage your supporter journeys and engagement. You can also assign a point person for all of those different paths, so you know who's going to be responsible for taking those next actions. So we know that our next step here is to add them onto a workflow. So that leads us perfectly on to the last phase of our demo today around how we can go on to engage our survey respondents further in the run up to the election. So this is really a key aspect to creating that bridge between your online and on the ground campaign efforts. So I will now go into NationBuilder workflows. So those automated email journeys, and you can see that workflows are just housed on the left-hand side here. So there are 2 ways in which you can enroll your survey respondents into a workflow. So we can add a tag to everyone who answers a specific question in the settings of a survey. So as I showed you with these tags here, the other option, so we can then click into that tag to build a filter. The other option is to save a list. So that's a static grouping of people, and then we can add respondents from there to a workflow. You do have the option to set up multiple source automations for your workflows if you have more than one data source that you want to use. So I'm just going to click into this tag here, the survey transport cost tag. So the database has now filtered and repopulated with all the survey respondents that are interested in this particular issue. So what we can now do is click up in the top right, select actions, and select enroll in automation. So I'm going to select this automation. So I'm just going to move over to one that I've got built out. So we're going to add them onto this Megan for Mayor transport concerns automation. And here we're now in workflows, and we're viewing that automation that's built out specifically for people that are concerned about the cost of public transport. So within an automation, we have our sources at the top here. So we can see all of the people that are in that filter. We're going to send them an email. We're then going to wait a few days, and we're going to go on to send them another email. And you can just continue building out from there by selecting this add button. So we can choose to add another action or a time delay. So my favorite thing about an automation is how we can use the conversions to define a call to action like donating or pledging. So if we just go to settings and conversions, what we're essentially able to do is build out those reasons. So we can use conversions to kind of measure the success of a series and just make sure that people are going to be removed if they take action ahead of that next scheduled send. So we want to help you to make the right ask at the right time. So that means, ensuring you don't ask someone to donate if they literally just did. So what does that look like in an email? So I'm just going to click back into automation, and we can now click into this email. So we're now in our content phase. We've skipped a few steps. So we've already selected our theme. So I've built out this theme using our drag and drop email builder that you can see on the right hand side here. And we've already populated our settings. So just things like the subject line and the name of this campaign. So now that we're actually in our content phase, you can see what this looks like. I've built it out with all of those different elements. We're linking to a few different blogs here, an image of Brixton where we actually met people today. But what I really want to show you is how we can, in this content phase, I'm just going to click in here, how we can actually bridge your field efforts with your digital. So the link here between the communications suite and the people database is the use of smart fields. So a smart field is going to enable you to really individualize an email and just continue to build rapport from your field campaign by showing people that you know them. So a smart field is what you can see here, this kind of little grey box. So we can just click in anywhere into our content, select add, and draw on a range of different criteria here. So a smart field is just going to grab information such as their total donation amount, their last donation amount, and it's going to grab that from their record and drop it into the email. So this will help you to really send targeted messages to those specific audiences. So we can target this to all of the survey respondents that are interested in that key issue of cost and safety. So for this example, I've already built in this smart field for the address city where we met them today. So you can see that's pulled in over on the left-hand side here. So I'm then going on to kind of speak about the specific issue that that they had a registered concern for in the survey today. So we're actually just going on to really acknowledge their responses. And then to focus on actually driving further action, I've added in this button here with a clear call to action. So I've thanked them for supporting my transport policy and, said it was great to meet them today. And now I'm asking them if they will just go a step further and actually pledge to support my campaign. So that is everything that we have to kind of show you in terms of the live demo for today. So I'm just going to switch back into the presentation, and we're just going to walk through the benefits of being a joint customer of NationBuilder and Ecanvasser to really power your campaign. So I hope from kind of all that you've seen so far from the live demo section, you're able to get a bit of an understanding of how the integration really works to help you bridge your online and field efforts. So I'm just going to move back over to the presentation. Perfect. So the first point that I really want to hone in on today is the ability to enhance your targeting. So we started off today by building that filter to identify that audience of people that are currently undecided supporters in the mayoral campaign. So then the power of this feature combined with the data we gather from Ecanvasser means that we can ultimately follow up in NationBuilder armed with that data that we collected through Ecanvasser. So the more that we learn about supporters and voters, the more refined our messaging becomes, which is what is going to make the difference between people staying engaged and actually showing up for your candidate and your party and your cause or campaign. So I'll hand over to you, Brendan.
Yeah, exactly. And what Sarah was saying as well, of keeping people engaged. And there was obviously kind of wider points that we could hit on in terms of voter apathy and distrust in terms of the political process. But it's about that. This was the key message, is to keep people engaged. And one-to-one canvassing is one of those areas of it's proven that it works. And the power of that conversation is a key part of that democratic process. In terms of being a joint NationBuilder and Ecanvasser customer, it's a case of you have a full, you basically have a full closed loop in terms of from the blank, say, voter file and building up all the different data points that you have, and then being able to present that on the doorstep through having a genuine conversation. So it not just engages you're the person, the voter on the doorstep, but it also engages your volunteers. And that's where, again, the benefit of your unlimited user licenses. It's a case of you can get more and more volunteers onto both systems, and you're building up a better picture of those volunteers, what makes them tick. And again, you can bring them along that ladder of engagement, and making the one-to-one canvassing part is, it's obviously I suppose higher up that ladder of engagement and trying to get volunteers. And we didn't show it in the demo, but there's obviously a lot of paths and workflows that you could do to get to move your volunteers further along that ladder of engagement, and then leading into that final point of the relationships and keeping them built up.